This programme is funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
Hello? Hello! Hello, Mary, how are you?
There she comes with a buzz.
There it is.
Hello, I'm Maria Staunton.
And I'm Mary Costello.
And this is Making It, the show that reveals the true stories of Mayo's women in business. From top executives to artists to female founders to those providing essential services in our local towns.
Stay with us for the next 20 minutes. And who knows, you might hear the advice or inspiration you need to get your own dream off the ground. I'm Mary Costello. Welcome to Making It. My guest in this episode is Lisa Canny. We talk about her musical beginnings, how COVID has been a blessing in disguise, how to make a space for yourself as a creative when you don't fit into one genre, and how to flip criticism on its head. Let's get straight into the interview. Okay, so welcome to Lisa Canny. She was born and bred in County Mayo. Lisa, you are notably a talented musician, but tell us a little bit about growing up, the school days and life as a child.
Life as a child. Life as a child for me was a lot about music, actually, and a lot to do with school, as you mentioned it. I've an awful lot to thank for my teacher and principal, Mr. Sean Nestor, who was there during my time in Roundfort, and he encouraged and nurtured a lovely kind of a community for learning music. One day he just gifted me a banjo, basically handed me a little banjo he had and said, you know, you've got a good musical ear and go and explore this and see how you get on. And that was the beginning of me starting the banjo, and the banjo led to the harp, and the harp led to other instruments, and it's led me here today. So if we go back all the way to Roundfort, I have a lot to thank them for. My mother has a beautiful voice and would sing to me. I always remember at night she'd sing, "Sonny, don't go away, I'm here all alone, your daddy's a sailor." And haven't heard that song in probably 20 years, but I'll know every lyric, you know, by heart still. So I remember little moments like that. My sister, my brother, my father, all great singers as well.
And in your Leaving Cert, Lisa, was music to be your journey? What was your aspirations? You know, did you know right then, this is where I'm going, this is the lead I'm going to take?
No, not really. I actually, I think I very much by default, because it was such a big part of my life, I kind of by default thought, of course, I'm going to do music. But there was a period where I kind of flirted with the idea of doing medicine and also doing architecture. And I had a career guidance counsellor encourage me to do medicine or architecture and keep music as a hobby. And she was quite relentless actually in that, because I remember saying, "Oh, I really want to do music," and she kind of said, "You know, well, you get good grades and you should keep it as a hobby." And for years I used to kind of tell that story as if, oh my God, the cheek of her, you know. But the older I get, the more I'm like, I understand it too, you know, like it's not been an easy road, it's not been an easy journey. Even just the ratio of who can make a living out of music in comparison to other industries or other careers, it you know, you're taking quite a risk in doing it. There's very little support. You've got to be very versatile if you're going to get to where you need to be. You know, the days of somebody walking up and handing you a record deal are basically gone and dead, and you have to have so many skills and so much resilience to make it. So I understand why somebody in a educational setting would say, you know, oh, just set yourself up for something else on the side. You can always do music if you really want to. But I didn't. I chose music in the end. I remember kind of sitting down, studying the music. I think it was Tchaikovsky was my year, the Leaving Cert music program. I remember just sitting back kind of listening to it. Probably after studying like economics or science for an hour and then going to music and playing the Tchaikovsky piece and just sitting back and kind of letting it wash over me and being like, no, this is exactly what I want to do. It has to be. There's no other choice.
Up until her teenage years, it was all about sean-nós and trad. But in secondary school, Lisa's tastes expanded to include pop and hip-hop two of the many influences that have become part of her genre-busting music. At the age of 19, she started performing with Celtic Crossroads and some of the other shows that followed on from Riverdance, touring all over America and Europe. And at one of those shows, she was approached by a man who turned out to be music industry legend Miles Copeland, manager of the Police and Sting. He sent her off on a retreat where she got a crash course in songwriting from some of the best in the business, which led her to her first publishing deal. Lisa Canny released her debut EP Freedom in 2018, and at the start of 2020 was all set for a massive year in her career when COVID hit.
It was very disheartening. Right at the beginning, I had a lot of exciting projects and plans in store for 2020, including like a tour of China, sold out tour of Germany and Austria. I was playing in the Olympia with Horselips, and the next day with Aslan in the Olympia as well. I had a headline gig in the Jazz Cafe in London, loads of different things, playing the Ivy Gardens. I was very excited about the year ahead. Everything was getting cancelled, of course, day by day, week by week. So that was really tough, and not just on the like excitement level, but also on I've been working so hard to get to this level, and now you're kicked back off again. So that was definitely tough. But what I did to cope, first of all, I went home to Mayo. 1, 2, 3. Of course. And what I did is I just knuckled down into doing as much work as possible. So I collabed with Mayo County Council on a project with them for Mayo Day. That kept me going for the first while. But one of the best things I got out of it was time to release my duo project. My duo project is called Mom and the Rebels. And it's me and my friend DJ. And we have had a project in the making for 4 years.
I think I fell in love with the other side tonight.
Basically, we mix Irish traditional music
Someone over there caught my eye.
with his genre, which is gospel music, or his upbringing at least. So we mix Irish trad and gospel to make pop music. We call it rebel pop.
I'm ready to let this go if you don't mind me.
So with COVID and with all the cancellations came the perfect opportunity to spend some time on Mom, and that has been such a blessing. We released our debut in June. It was a great success. It was 12 weeks in the charts.
I think I fell in love with a rebel guy tonight.
Irish viral Spotify playlisting.
I saw him on the street breaking up a fight.
And track of the week on a number of stations, BBC introducing, BBC playlisted, RT playlist. It was a huge success for us as our first song. And that has opened so many doors.
I'm ready to let this go if you don't mind.
We're now here in a studio in London, working with some of the best producers in London, getting ready for the album. Basically, we have about 2 albums worth ready to go. So that has been amazing, and I wouldn't have got that chance to do that without COVID. And it really feels like a reward to me, a reward for hard work and the right choices in music. Like when we're in the studio together, we're constantly smiling, laughing, dancing around the place. It feels like the reward for me for the hard work.
I'm ready to let this go if you don't mind me. I'm ready to let you know if you don't.
My challenge has always been that I don't fit into one genre. Let's put it that way. And that has always been a challenge. So when I would have producers or managers say, oh, Lisa, you just got too many, 1 minute you're pop, 1 minute you're trad, 1 minute you're folk, 1 minute you're, jazz, whatever it is. And this is a problem. And I would listen to them and go, okay, yeah, I'll try and, figure out what it is that I really am. But every time I went back to it, that's what I was. Every single part of it, every different part of me, it was just a different expression of it, right? So I think what's happened in the last few years is I've finally just started to embrace that, let go of the pressures from the industry standard or whatever you want to call it, and just write the music that comes from me naturally. And I've kind of accepted the fact that if people love it, brilliant. But if they don't, I don't mind. I don't care so much anymore. I just have to do what's true to me. And what's true to me is to be inspired and influenced by many, many different genres and many different cultures.
I asked Lisa what had been her experience as a woman in the music industry.
Luckily, I haven't come across much gender issues, at least not that I'm aware of, but I have been underestimated a few times. I have been kind of had people kind of try to tell me, no, this is the way you do it, or managers insist on me changing something or doing something a different way, and I don't think they'd be as quick to do it to a male in that situation. But truthfully, I've kind of flipped it on its head. If I come into that situation where I have somebody who's thinking that I'm not as capable, then I use it. I use it to either manipulate them to get what I want. That sounds so psycho, but you know what I mean. I play off it. If they're going to underestimate me, then I feel like I'm licensed to do the same, or to treat them the same way. So I think you can just be clever about it, as long as you don't get offended, and you know your worth and you know what you can do, then you can very quickly put somebody back in their place.
Of course, I wanted to know if there was an example that sprung to mind. And she told me about a time when she was on Fla TV a couple of years ago.
And I'm the type of person that'll hang out with all of the stage crew in the back. And one of them told me a couple of days later that I won't mention the band now because we'll all know them, but a very famous traditional Irish band were also on that night. And apparently one of the producers said, "Did you see Lisa Canny performing?" Now, I had come up to an Irish traditional music festival doing my pop stuff with my harp and my banjo, and I brought a beatboxer. I brought a female beatboxer from London with me, so it definitely wasn't straight up trad. I knew I was pushing the boundaries a little bit, but apparently anyway, he said, "Was that girl with the other girl spitting into the mic?" And they were like, "Yeah, that was her. Wasn't she brilliant?" And he just like shook his head and said, "I've known that girl for a long time playing music. She's a disgrace to the tradition now." She came back and told me it, and she knew I was going to laugh at it too. We were just both laughing on it for so long. But all that has done is actually inspired me to do more, because if you're feeling that strongly about it, first of all, then I'm obviously, creating something that people are talking about. But also it made me write a song called Heads Up, which is all about that kind of interaction. And the line in it is London town breaking. I'm in London town breaking ground with a new sound, trying to keep afloat while I rock the boat. She's a novelty addition, disgrace to the tradition. Put that in the box, label pop Goldilocks. So I wrote this whole song about it, and it's basically just me, saying thank you for the fuel to continue to go on.
Lisa told me that she's had to learn the business side of things as she goes along. She ran dance camps as a teenager and taught music to help pay the bills while she was in college.
And then when I started into my solo career, obviously being able to tour the States and on big stages was great experience. I watched my managers. I kind of, took notes on how it all works, and was had that eye open. I was watching it. I was intrigued by it all. So when I started to manage myself, I have actually been through a couple of managers. I've had different managers, but none of them are with me today, and none of them really brought me anything of worth. I realized quite quickly that I could do a lot of that myself without giving away 20%, and that there's a lot of people out there who say that they can manage you, and actually they really can't. So you got to kind of be wise to that, and if you do as much work you can yourself.
This is an entrepreneurial approach, constantly learning from mistakes, bouncing back and steadily building up knowledge, skills and experience. Lisa told me that if she decides to start up a record label in the future, she'll already know a lot of what is needed. I wondered if that future might also include a return to living in Mayo.
This is probably one of my greatest personal challenges, is that my heart and my dreams are not there, at least yet, and that has been a real sacrifice for me. I would love to be at home, but it doesn't have the resources available to me to kind of achieve my dreams. So I've made the choice to go elsewhere to do it, and hopefully I will be able to return to Mayo in the not too distant future and live there.
Stepped off the plane, searched the crowd for your face. I know you're not there, but I'll hope anyway. Never thought I'd be back to this city.
In the meantime, Lisa Canny is working on solo releases for later this year and making plans to shake things up for international audiences, who she thinks are now eager for something more than the typical Celtic touring shows that started with Riverdance.
What I think myself, or what I have thought for a while, is that they're ready for something a little bit different, that they've been exhausted of that, i.e. the market over there, and that they might be ready for something different. And also I wanted to explore ways in which I could give back to the female musician community, and do something fun and something that I really love as well at the same time. So I've come up with an idea of a show, also a band. It's a show, it's a band, it's also a brand. It's called Bird, and Bird is comprised of 14 of the best young Irish female traditional musicians. All of the best in Ireland. All these girls are touring with all of the big shows, but each of us have the same experience. All of the girls are either put up in the front of the stage in big long gunas like Celtic Woman, and they're singing "Oh Danny Boy," and they're the Lovely Girls competition from Father Ted, or they're put in tiny little sparkly black dresses, heels, red lippy, and they're overly sexualized, and there's nothing in between. There's nothing that's actually representative of the real badass Irish traditional female musicians that exist in the real world, in the sessions at the festivals, who are highly fashionable, trendy, open-minded, individualistic, beautiful minds. They all have this gorgeous story to tell in their music and in their fashion, and I wanted to really start representing that. So in Bird we will play beautiful traditional Irish music. We have 7 harpists, 7 fiddles, 2 banjos, flutes, guitars, accordions. Between us all there's something like 30 different instruments and vocals. But we're going to be really fashion conscious too, create a stunning aesthetic. I'm working with a creative designer or a graphic designer to create aesthetic that really speaks to the Irish culture, but also like modernizes it and brings it into the more current market. We're going to be working with Irish stylists and designers to create stunning, like high fashion clothing for us, and just let the girls then get up and look like superstars, models, beauties, empowered women in their heels or in their runners and suits if they want, and play absolutely stunning music, but look like the queens that they are as well. So it's a hugely ambitious project, but I have only just started it, and we've already gained the interest of some really big agents and promoters in the States. So obviously we're onto something, and I'm really excited about it. I have the 14 girls. We're all ready to go. We were ready to go into record in the TF last June, but obviously that has all been postponed. So we will hopefully get to that this year and bringing Bird to the public in 2022.
And do you believe, Lisa, there's some sort of pattern or formula to becoming a successful entrepreneur?
I don't believe there's a successful formula, but I do believe there are traits that successful entrepreneurs share. I think they're they've got to be dreamers. They've got to be able to visualize the thing before the thing is a thing. They've got to have faith. They've got to have confidence in themselves. They've got to push the boundary more than anybody else. And I have to challenge myself with that all the time, because I'll think of, or me and Deej from the Duo project will think of a big idea, and then we'll go, oh, we could never afford that. We could never do that. And we have to stop ourselves from doing that, because there's 9 times out of 10 always a way you can at least start the process or get the ball rolling in some way. So I think entrepreneurs have that naturally, where they find the solution rather than the problem.
You've been listening to Making It. A huge thanks to my guest this week, Lisa Canny. She's got loads of new music coming out this summer, and then gigs in the UK, Ireland and Germany starting in September. So follow her on Instagram and Facebook if you're not already. Mom and the Rebels will also be touring the UK and Ireland in September. That's MOM, Mom and the Rebels, on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks also this week to Mayo County Council for letting us include the music from the Mayo 24 video Lisa produced for Mayo Day 2020. We're on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, all of them at Making It Mayo. Our email is makingitmayo@gmail.com. This show was recorded remotely for Claremorris Community Radio. To find out more, visit ccr946.ie. From everyone on the team here at Making It, thanks for listening.
This programme is funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.